The true value is what the seller's willing to sell it for and the buyer's willing to pay for it.
Hey there, everyone. Jamie with Sell for 1%, joined as usual by the head broker, Dave Barlow, my dad, and brother, man on the street, Jason Barlow. And this week, we are coming back to our Term of the Week segment with Dave taking the helm, and we'll dive into a new real estate term here this week. What do you got for us?
Our term of the week is days on market. And so, not the most exciting term of the week, but if you're looking as a buyer, days on market could be very beneficial to you, especially in this market. And as a seller, you definitely want to be concerned with days on market. And so we'll talk about both of them. Jamie, you work with a lot of buyers. Why do you think days on market would be important to a buyer?
You get a general feel of the marketability of the home, I would say, if you see it, on for 300 plus days. But, we see a lot that come on the market, and days on market is 3 by the time it closes. That's a seller who priced it right and, got a buyer that first weekend on the market. So for a buyer, it's important just to know why is something sitting longer than others.
And most of the time, the reason the house is sitting is because the house's value, the asking price, is not being perceived by the buyer. So, for example, easy math, if the house is listed at $500,000, it's been on the market for 30 days, you can assume that there's been a number of people see that house online, but they don't have enough showings. And because they don't have enough showings, they haven't gotten an offer. And again, most likely it's because of pricing. And so from a buyer's perspective, I might be interested in looking at a house that's 30, 40, 50 days on market because the competition has already been through the property versus being one of those houses that just hit the market and you have 20 other buyers looking, and then 10 of them decide to write an offer. It's very competitive. But after day 30, it could just very well be that the house has been overpriced. It could be that the listing agent has been in that seller's ear a little bit to say, hey, your house is overpriced. And Mr. Buyer, your client, could say, well, instead of $500,000, what if we offered them $450,000? Open up the negotiations, see what they are willing to sell it for. And so for me, on the buyer side, there might be opportunity in this competitive market to find a home that has been passed over because of pricing. And so on the seller side, Jay DeBaum, you do a lot of listings. Why is days on market important to a seller?
Conventionally, you don't want to have a stigma, being on the market for too long. You don't want buyers thinking what's wrong with this house.
Yep.
And like you said, pretty, common. It's nothing's really wrong with the house. It's more pricing than anything else. When we list properties, we know, and it can be a variety of things. It can be location, it can be condition, but both of those things affect the price.
Right.
And so, if it's underpriced, idea is that, it's going to sell quickly. I guess I'm different than most agents. I think a lot of it also is perspective. Back when I first got in the business, Dad, we were 6% realtors, and Dad's entire marketing was around, I'll sell your house in 90 days or less guaranteed. So, 90 days was selling your house fast.
Right.
And, someone that's been in the business 8 years, 7 years, they've only seen homes sell in like 2 weeks. So the idea of it, our contract is 90 days now. So, to me, I and when I say I'm not like most agents, when homes don't sell quickly, they kind of panic. And I think people go to things like price cuts too quickly. There's an art to selling a home. Sometimes it is price. Sometimes it's, well, let's tweak the description, how we're marketing the home. Sometimes it's, well, let's drop it $100. And, we have, we're performing well on our metrics with showings. Let's do a tiny tweak and we'll sell it. So that's where, to me, days on market, no big deal, because I come from the days where it would take 168 days to sell a house. And in this world, even the overpriced ones still sell in 90 days or less.
Yeah, and when we do a market analysis, one of the things that we do look at is your neighborhood and average sales price, average cost per square foot, and what is the average day on market. And so if we're in a neighborhood that's a $500,000 neighborhood and you want to list for $550 and the average sales price is $500 and the average days on market is 6, and you're listed at $550, and then we've been on the market now for 45 days in limited showings, well, then the metrics of the neighborhood are kind of telling you where you're off base. And the opposite happens.
It's your fault, Dave. You suck at selling houses. That's why you can't sell this one at $550.
Yep. I've only sold 4,000 in the last 26 years. We do about 250 a year. So, and the average agent sells 1 or 2. But,
well, that is pricing, and that's where, and we understand marketing, but that's where it's like, why would you give away, 6% of your home's equity when it really is about the art of how to price? You can hire a photographer, there's an art, I think, to the descriptions, but really what butters our bread, I think, is we understand the market and how to price and how to appraise a property's value.
Right. And we talked about this a little earlier, had a house over in Dublin. The sellers thought the house was only worth $500. And I told them I thought we could get you $550. And they're like, there's no way you can get $550. It's like, all right, the numbers for the neighborhood and the condition of your home indicate you can get $550. And so we listed it for $550, and lo and behold, we had a bidding war. Now, this is just 30 days ago, and today is May 8th, so this is the beginning of April of 2024. We had a little bidding war, and the house sold for $600,000. And so, yeah, pricing, there's several components. And I told those guys at closing, all your neighbors should send you a little thank you card, maybe bake you a cake, but they should definitely give you a hug, because you just raised the value of that entire neighborhood by about $75,000 with the sale of your home. And so days on market, I think, is important from both sides. The buyer side, there may be opportunity for a house that's been on the market for 2-3 weeks. And on the seller side, it's a litmus test as to what's going on in your neighborhood, and how long, your home is sitting. So again, if the average is 6 days and you've been on the market for 30 days, there's a problem. And it's normally perceived value by the buyer. And, the old saying that true value of anything, car, tires, groceries, a house, the true value is what the seller's willing to sell it for and the buyer's willing to pay for it. And I'll give you a great example. Go to Kroger, and they always have a discount shelf somewhere. There's a can of beans there that you can buy half off. Well, why is that? Well, because the buyers at Kroger's perception is that can of beans is not worth twice the value. And so they mark it down, and they mark it down, and they mark it down. And to a point where a buyer then says, yeah, I think that's worth 50 cents. I'll buy it. So value being perception with both buyer and seller as to the real value. At some point, you will find a buyer I tell sellers all the time, what do you think will be that $500,000 house we listed for $1? Do you think we can find a buyer? Well, sure. What if we listed for $1 million? Do you think we'll find a buyer? Probably not. And that's what we do, and that's the art of getting you the most money possible in the shortest period of time is because of our experience. So give us a call here at Sell for 1%. We just talked about 4 or 5 minutes about a very boring term called days on market, but it does have a lot of impact on what buyers and sellers do in today's world. So thanks for joining us. Click that bell, subscribe. We'll send you more information to help put you in the best position to buy or the absolute best position to sell. Until next week, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.